5 books and counting. The Tales from the Omni Vault continues to expand as a universe. Go ahead and check the links down in the description to get your copies today. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the Omni Viewer, and a couple of days ago, Disney celebrated Donald Duck's 90th birthday by releasing a brand new hand-drawn short entitled DIY Duck, which, as of this posting, you can still find on YouTube. I do not think it was a coincidence that only a day after that, Warner Brothers released the first fully animated clip from their upcoming Looney Tunes movie, which also features a cartoon duck, as if to sort of throw the gauntlet. Now, this upcoming movie, Looney Tunes: The Day the Earth Blew Up, has been considered kind of a big deal for multiple reasons. First of all, it's going to be the first feature-length Looney Tunes movie that is comprised 100% of original animation. It's not a repackaging of pre-existing cartoons with new animation in between to serve as a framing device. It's not a live-action animation mashup like Space Jam or Looney Tunes Back in Action. It's 100% original, fully animated, which is the first time that has ever been done with these characters. I know, it took this long. Crazy to think, right? It's also considered a big deal because after the AT&T Time Warner merger, a lot of different projects were getting cut regardless of how far along they were in production. And that included a lot of animated stuff that did not have the letters DC attached to it. Yet, surprisingly, this movie seemed to sort of skirt by, and even though the plan to have it be a Max exclusive was sort of set aside, it's now going to be theatrically released as far as I can tell. In fact, it's going to get its first official screening the same day this video is going up, June 11th. So, somehow it survived. And that's got a lot of Looney Tunes fans excited. And this is our first official look. So what do I think? Well, first of all, gotta address the animation. It is absolutely beautiful. Like, this is some of the best animation I have seen in a very, very long time. I'm sure that it's at least got some digital parts to it. It's probably not hand-drawn, or if it is, that hand-drawn stuff was probably enhanced to some degree with digital animation. Or who knows, maybe it is 100% hand-drawn. But the important thing is, it feels hand-drawn. And it's got that same snappiness, that same fluid motion that the classic cartoons were so well known for. Only with a more modern, glossy aesthetic to them. So, nothing bad to say about the visuals whatsoever. As far as the voice acting goes, Daffy definitely sounds like Daffy, but Porky's voice sounds weird to me in this. It's very high-pitched, almost to the point where it sounds like it's venturing into a young Bugs Bunny as opposed to Porky Pig. Even a young Porky Pig. Let's not forget, Porky used to be a kid when he first appeared, and it was one of the few Looney Tunes who actually grew up. But even in his younger days, he didn't sound like that. And curiously, not stuttering that much for most of the clip. He does eventually start stuttering, but for the beginning of it, he's not. So that threw me a little. It's not a bad performance, but I still have to say, it didn't really sound like Porky at first. But Daffy sounds like Daffy, so I guess it's got that going for it. Now, if I had to guess, this clip is from the beginning of the movie. If not the very beginning, then certainly after the credits. And it appears to be setting up what the sort of subtext will be. Like, obviously we're going to start with sort of a more domestic plot of Porky and Daffy trying to get their home up to pass neighborhood inspection, only to discover that something's wrong. And what they discover is wrong is going to lead them to learn about this alien invasion and wind up being the heroes who have to prevent it somehow. So I've seen that sort of plot work well before. Shaun of the Dead comes to mind. Starts off very much like a dark British sitcom where the characters are kind of miserable, but that misery is played for laughs. And then after all that's been established, then they're thrown into a zombie apocalypse. So it can work. However, this isn't a British comedy. This is Looney Tunes, and specifically it's Looney Tunes cartoons. Now, I really liked Looney Tunes cartoons when it first started, because it felt like the Looney Tunes were alive again. People who really cared about the material had actually been given a budget to make the show the best that they could possibly do it, and it got back to the basics, even more so than Wabbit/New Looney Tunes did. Wabbit/New Looney Tunes had its good points, but the art style and animation just weren't up to the usual standards. Although I do still appreciate stuff like bringing in new characters and trying out new combinations of characters and things like that. Looney Tunes cartoons was more back to the basics, and I liked it at first, but it got formulaic very quickly. Even when the jokes were new, you still kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. You always knew that when Bugs showed up and he wasn't facing a new opponent, then he was going to be going up against Sam, Elmer, or Taz. Porky and Daffy were always going to be together. Granny, Tweety, and Sylvester were always going to be together. Those little short segments between the two main segments always have the same setup every single time. It fell into a rut very quickly. And towards the end, they did try to branch out and bring in some new elements. They completely reinvented Petunia Pig in a way that I think worked really well, and I'd like to see more of. Apparently, she's going to be in this movie, too. They brought back some other characters like Charlie the Dog and Mark Antony. They tried messing around a little with the animation style for that solo Witch Hazel cartoon, or the one homage to the 60s with Daffy and Porky, although that one, I don't know if anybody who worked on that actually saw what the Looney Tunes looked like in the 60s, but it didn't look like that. But anyway, they tried experimenting. Problem is, it was too little too late, which is why, even though it's still up right now, Looney Tunes cartoons did eventually get canceled. At least that's what I believe. I do have my concerns about whether or not that formula can work for a feature-length movie. Because, it's good for the short stuff. Looney Tunes has always thrived in the short subject stuff. But to extend that out to a full feature-length film, that's going to be tricky. It can be done. I have seen some really crazy screwball comedies, particularly from the classic era, that start off zany and never let up. But is Looney Tunes cartoons capable of doing that? That's my question. So, hopefully it'll work. I'm sure that after that screening happens, which it hasn't happened as of this particular upload, we'll hear a bit more of the scuttlebutt about what people think. But for now, I can at least say the visuals look good, the voice acting might take a little getting used to, and the concept has potential. Fingers crossed, I suppose. Until such time as we meet again, this is the Omni Viewer signing off.
Thank you all for watching. Now be sure to head down to the description to check us out on other platforms, as well as find links to the 5 current books in the Tales from the Omni Vault universe. Again, thank you all, and we'll see you next time.